Devaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agnana Timirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Shakshurun Militam Yenam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namavo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, chapter 3, verse number 37. सत्वं रजस्तमा इति त्रिवृद् एकम् आदौ सूत्रं महान् अहम् इति प्रवदन्ति जीवम् ज्ञानक्रियार्थफलरूपतायोर्शक्ति ब्रह्मैव भाति सद् असद् च तयोः परं यत्. Let's read the translation. Originally, one, the absolute Brahman, comes to be known as threefold, manifesting itself as three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Brahman further expands its potency, and thus the power to act and the power of consciousness becomes manifest, along with the false ego, which covers the identity of the conditioned living being. Thus, by the expansion of the multi potencies of the Absolute, the demigods, as the embodiment of knowledge, become manifest. Along with the material senses, their objects, and the results of material activity, namely happiness and distress. In this way, the manifestation of the material world takes place as the subtle cause and as the material effect, visible in the appearance of gross material objects. Brahman, which is the source of all subtle and gross manifestations, is simultaneously transcendental to them, being absolute. Yeah, this is the translation, and we also followed by we have a long, very long purport. We'll go there also. So before going there, let's little bit deep dive into the verse itself. So here actually the whole material manifestation, how the material world forms, all that is given, like even like sambandha, abhideya, prayojana, gnana is also given here. So the verse starts with like Sattvam Rajastama iti Trivrud Ekam Adav. So it says Sattvam Rajastama. So like we already know like there are three material modes of nature. So it says Sattvam Rajastama iti Ekam Adav. Like they come from one. Who is that one? Like Brahman. Brahman comes from Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Sutram Mahan Aham iti Pravadanti Jivam. So Lord has three Shaktis. As we know, Lord is Sachidananda. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. So Lord is Sachidananda Vigraha. Of course, we are also Sachidananda Vigraha, but in limited form. So Lord has the that limited form is also covered by three modes of material nature, because we are in this material world. Like we have gross material body, uh, the senses, mind, intelligence. Like all are these covered by the three modes of material nature. So that's why even though we want to connect to the Lord, it's very tough to connect to the Lord because we are covered by three modes of material nature. So Lord is Sachidananda form. So Sachidananda means Sat means eternal, Sit means knowing potency, is omniscient, Ananda means Sadhini Shakti. So corresponding to like Satchidananda, there are like three potencies of the Lord, three aspects of the Lord. So actually, Lord has only one Shakti. That is Swarup Shakti or Chit Shakti, that is called. That's also called internal potency. Like we already know, like Lord has three kinds of potencies: internal energy, external energy, and marginal energy. So internal energy is the Swarup Shakti or Chit Shakti, that is called as. And marginal energy, we are the jivas, we are the marginal potency. And there is external energy, that is called Maya. In that, the Maya is composed of Sattva, Rajas, Tama. These are the three gunas. So, Lord has initially one energy, that is Chit Shakti or Swarup Shakti. From that, like that has three aspects of it. So what are those three aspects? Sat Chit Ananda. So that can be termed as Sat Chit Ananda can be termed as Samvit, Sandini, Hadini Shakti. So Samvit means with means with, right? With means like to know. So Lord is omniscient. So that is equivalent to Chit potency. Sandini is Sat potency. So Sat is eternal. So Sandini is like the eternality. Sandini means actually the joining potency. It joins all the like the the Chit potency and Hladini potency. So that is actually a Mula Shakti. The Ananda Shakti, Hladini Shakti, that is the that is actually the pleasure potency of the Lord. That is actually Radharani. So and these three shaktis only, like actually these three shaktis actually in the material world, these are actually a perverted reflections of the sattva rajas tama. So these are like so this is a maya shakti. So in maya shakti also, like we have like these three shaktis in perverted reflection. Of course jiva also, like as a marginal potency, jiva also has these three shaktis, but those are covered. And that covered, like, and those shaktis are also in the limited form in the jiva. So that's what it explains here. Initially, like only one shakti is there, uru shakti. It says here uru shakti in the third line, gnana kriyartha phala rupataya uru shakti. So uru shakti is that one shakti that we talked about. That is actually the chit potency or internal potency. From there the three aspects manifest. Those are Samvit, Sandini, Radhini Shakti. And those are like when it comes to material world, that becomes Maya Shakti, that get translated into Sattva, Rajas, Tama. So that's where like we are the jivas covered by those those three gunas. Like so in Bhagavad Gita there is sloka Purushaha Prakritistohi. So the Purusha, like we are Purusha, we are in the Prakriti. What we do in the when we come to the material nature, Bhunkte Prakritir Jain Guna. Like we enjoy the gunas. The gunas means the sattva rajas tama. Karanam gunasangasya sad asad yoni janmashu. So because of that association of the gunas, that's why we take the different lives, right? Sad asad yonishu janmasu. Sad means sometimes we take in a good good family, like in the human form of family, human form, or sometimes like we'll born into an animal species of life. So sad means like in a good life, asad means like in a lower kind of life. So, but how do we come out of this sad asad yoni? We need to, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, we are covered by three modes of material nature, right? So these three modes of material nature are Daivi. They are of divine. As we said, like they're even though they are perverted reflection of the Lord's energies, but they are transcendental also. They are Daivi Prakriti. So we are called by Daiviyeshu Gunamayi Mama Maya Duranteya Mameva Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite. So because these are divine, you can't come out of that. We need to surrender to the Lord. So that's how we come out of the Mameva Prapadyante. So, and also there is sloka, E yada mam prapadyante tam tadaya bhajami. Like according to our surrender, Lord is also reciprocates. So that's how we are bound by these three modes of material nature. To come out of this, we need to surrender to the Lord. So that's the essence of this sloka. Let's go to the translation, and I mean purport. So in the previous verse, the sage Pippalayana described the absolute Brahman as being beyond the range of material sense perception and material speculation. At the same time, it was stated Atma Mula Artakam Aha Yadarde Na Nisheda Siddhihi. The negative injections of the Vedas indirectly indicate the existence of the absolute truth. This absolute truth can be approached by correct means. Now, in the present verse, it is clearly described that absolute truth possesses innumerable potencies. So, as we discussed earlier, Lord actually has innumerable potencies. Guru Shakti, Brahmaiva Bhati. So, he has innumerable potencies, but the base is the Chit Shakti. That's what we talked about. Thus, but those Shakti, that one Shakti expands into multifarious energies. Thus, by the expansion of the absolute truth, the gross and subtle features of the material world becomes manifest. So, when the Lord expands those energies, um, those are like influenced by the time and the sattva rajastama guna, like we get like the all these indriyas, karma indriyas, jnana indriyas, all those get formed. So and then like the jiva attracted by that, he gets the form based on his desires. So everything is like based on the desires. Aham, like ahankara. So but actual our nature is Jiver Swarupo Hoy, Krishner Nityadas. So we are actually Swarupa. Swarupa means Sachidananda. That's actually the Mola Shakti that we talked about is Swarupa Shakti or Chit Shakti or eternal the internal potency. So we are also Swarup Shakti of the Lord, but we are marginal potency. Marginal means like we are having the limited the Shakti is in the limited portion. So thus by the expansion of the absolute truth, the gross and subtle features of the material world becomes manifest. As stated by Srila Sridhar Swami, Karyam Karanad Binnam Na Bhavati. The result is not different from its cause. So whatever is manifested here is actually from that cause, the original cause, the Brahman. Or like above that Brahman is Supreme Lord. Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavaniti Sabdate. Therefore, since the use absolute is eternal existence, this material world being the potency of the absolute must also be accepted as real. So, even though this material world, sometimes some people call it as a false, but it is actually should be considered as real, and it is temporary. So because we are living in a home, we can't call it as a illusory, it's maya, because it's already existing. You're living there and you're eating food. We can't call it as a the false thing. It's because it's existing, it is real. The material world should be understood to consist of the bewildering interactions of real elements. So that's what we talked about. Like when the living entity enters into the material world, what happens? Purushaha prakriti stohi. He is in the prakriti. Then what happens? He interacts with the material nature. Bhunkte prakrutir jair guna. Like he enjoys. Bhunkte means he enjoys prakrutir jair guna. The gunas that are emanating from prakriti. So then what happens? Like he get attached to that. Karana guna sangasya. Like he gets attached to that. That's the problem with the material enjoyment. So the material enjoyment is like actually it's very, even though you get enjoyment, of course, everybody, like not only spiritually, people get also enjoyment in material also, but that material enjoyment follows by the pain. Like every material enjoyment, like immediately or like even after some time, it follows pain, suffering. So that duality is existing in this material world. But when you go to the spiritual world, there is no duality. It's only like kevala ananda kanda. Like every step is Katha Ganam Natyam Gamanamapi Vamsi Priyasaki. So every word is a song. Think about that. Every word, whatever we speak, that word becomes a song. And whatever step that we take, that becomes a dance. So like that's what devotees do actually, right? So whatever they speak, that Krishna Katha is actually the nourishing to the souls, and also it gives enjoyment to the Lord. So that's actually a song. And whatever the devotees dance while singing, that's actually whatever the steps, that becomes a dance. So that gives pleasure to Radha Govinda. So that's how like we are devotees live. I mean I mean you are devotees. So I'm trying to be there. The material world is not false in the imaginary sense of Buddhists and Mayavadis, who state that, in fact, the material world does not exist outside the mind of the observer. Yeah, so these Mayavadis think that like it's only in the mind. What like you are imagining everything, like you are imagining like the buildings and everything, like that's not there. Like earlier there was a propaganda, there was no COVID existed, right? So but people were dying, actually people were dying on the roads and all, like so, and in the hospital. So but there was a propaganda in the everywhere that some people believed that there was no COVID, people were not dying at all, and they were in their own virtual world. But there is already suffering, actually. We are all going through that suffering, actually. So the material world, as the potency of the absolute, has real existence. So it has real existence. But even though it's temporary, it has real existence. But the living entity becomes bewildered by the temporary manifestations, foolishly taking them to be permanent. So we think that this everything is permanent. So even like there is a story like when Pandavas are in the doing vanvas, so they feel very thirsty, and they go to the pond to drink the water. I mean, like they go one by one, actually. So first, I think Nakula and Sahadeva goes, and Yaksha asks the questions, but they were reluctant to answer. Then like they become like, then they try to drink that water and they become lifeless. So and finally Yudhishthira Maharaj goes. So that time Yaksha asks the question, what is the what is the most amazing or surprising thing in this world? Yaksha asks the question. So Yudhishthira answers like, ahani ahani bhutani gachanti yamalayam ichanti shashvata stavaram. So even though we see the people around going to abode of Ladema, but we think we want the permanent place here. Because why we want permanent place? Because we are eternal, right? So that's the reason we think this is this is our body, and we think that everything in relation to us is permanent. But even though the living entities around us going dying every minute, every second, but we think that this is permanent. So Yudhishthira says there is no surprising thing other than that. But even though we know that, even though I and everybody knows that, but still we hanker for this permanency. Why it is that? Because we are also actually the as a soul we are eternal, but this is not the place to be living to get that eternality. We need to go back to God. We need to go back to Krishna. To and to go back to Krishna, we need to establish that sambandha. We need to know that. This sloka is actually explains that. This sloka gives that knowledge of sambandha, so that when we understand that sambandha, what we do abhideya. Abhideya means we practice the devotional service. When we practice the devotional service, we get prayojana. Prayojana means going back to Godhead. So that's the ultimate prayojana that we need to aspire for. Thus, the material world functions as an illusory potency, causing the living entity to forget the spiritual world wherein life is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge. So we think that this world is permanent, eternal, and bliss and knowledge. Of course, some kind of things are there that gives pleasure, but those are temporary, and every pleasure follows the misery. Because the material world thus bewilders the conditioned soul, it is called illusory. That's why it's called illusory. It's not because of it is false, it is not existence. That's not the reason it's called illusory. Because it bewilders the soul. That's why it's called illusory. When a musician performs his tricks on stage, that which audience apparently sees as an illusion, but the musician actually exists, and the hat and rabbit exists. Although the appearance of rabbit coming out of a hat is an illusion. So Kunti Maharani also prays in the Srimad Bhagavatam when when Krishna is about to leave. So she says, Maya Jamanikachannam Agna Adokshajam Avayayam Nalakshase Muda Drusha Nato Natyadara Yadam Tada Paramahamsana Muninam Amalatmanam Bhakti Yoga Vidhanardam Katam Pashyame Striha. So she says, Maya Javanikachanam. You are actually covered by the curtain, the Maya. So here, like the magician. So Krishna also does the magical tricks on us, right? So he's covered by the Maya curtain. So the ignorant fools doesn't know about him. Agna adokshajam aveyam. Nalakshase mudadrusha. So they can't able to perceive him because we are fools. Nato natyadarayada. So, but how do we perceive him? The sloka follows. Tada Paramahamsamnam Amalatmanam Muninam Bhakti Yoga Vidhanam. So Paramahamsas, Munis, Amalatmanas, the pure souls, like what they do? Bhakti Yoga. So the only way is to know the Lord, to connect with the Lord is Bhakti Yoga. There is nothing else other than that. Bhakti Yoga starts with Shunnutam Sokata Krishna Punyasravana Kirtanam Rudyantasto hi abhadrani. So vidunoti surat satam. So when we hear the Lord's katha, what happens? All the abhadras, all the impurities go away. Because the Supreme Lord seated in everybody's heart as a super soul. and he is a friend. He's observing us. So, similarly, when the living entity identifies himself as a part and parcel of the material world, thinking, so we think that I'm American, I'm Indian, I'm Russian, I'm black, I'm white. He's bewildered by the magic of the Lord's illusory potency. So we think that I'm American. Okay, oh, I got American citizenship, and I can enjoy here. Otherwise, like some people think that I'm Russian, I'm white, I have so many privileges being white. So I'm black. So it's all like the bodily identifications. So, but what is the real identification that we need to have? Mamai vanso jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manasashtendriyani prakritim sthani karshati. So the real identity is Mame Vanso Jivaloke. So the real identity is like we are the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. That is the real identity. We are the Amsats of the Lord. But we are the Vibhinna Amsa. So we are the Sachidananda Vigraha, but in a limited form. Not like we are American, Indian, Russian, I'm black, I'm white. So he is bewildered by the so once we identify with the body, right, bodily designation or society designation, family designation, when we have all these identifications, what will happen? He is bewildered by the magic of Lord's illusory potency. That's how like Maya Javanikachan. Like we are covered by the Maya potency of the Lord. The conditioned soul must come to understand I am pure spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna. Now let me stop my useless activities and serve Krishna since I am part of Him. So, because we are Amsa of the Lord. So, what we need to do? Sarva dharmani parityajya mamekam sharanam vaja aham tum sarva papebhyo mokshasyami Masasya. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, we need to stop all these useless activities, all the sarvadharmas, all the useless activities. Like Anand Bihari Prabhu does. And serve Krishna, since I am part of him. Then he is free from illusion of Maya. So when when one does that, when one gives up everything, I mean, gives up everything means gives up that illusion. Even Krishna says to Arjuna, um, Arjuna wants to give up everything, doesn't want to fight. But Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mamanasmara Iddhasa. Like, think about me, think of me, and fight. Mamanasmara Iddhasa. So, we need to also follow that sutra or formula. Then what happens? Then he is free from illusion of Maya. If one artificially tries to escape the clutches of the illusory energy by declaring that there is no illusory potency and that world is false, he merely falls into another illusion created by Maya to keep him in ignorance. So what happens? So when one thinks that everything is illusory, he will fall into one more illusory. That's what it said here. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, we already talked about Daivesha Gunamai Mama Maya Durante Mameva Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarante. So the only way to get out of this Maya is because Maya is these three folds of material energy is Daivi. It's Parashakti. So how do you get out of it? We need to surrender to the lotus feet of the Mahesha. Unless one surrender to the lotus feet of Mahesha, the Lord of the illusory potency, there is no possibility of escaping from illusion. Childishly declaring that there is no illusory potency is useless, since Maya is Duratyaya, or insurpassable for the tiny living entity. But Lord Krishna, the omnipotent personality of Godhead, can immediately call up the illusory potency. So When we surrender to the Lord, what happens? He will immediately take away everything, all the Maya. Suppose if you know Donald Trump, what happens? You can easily meet him. Like you don't need to go through all the security and everything, right? So all the curtains goes up because you know him personally, so you can approach him like that. When you know the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what happens? When you're connected to him and you're personally to him. Of course Lord is there in everybody's heart, but when you engage in devotional service, edamam prapachante tham sadaiva bhajami. So when you engage in devotional service, what happens? Lord takes out the illusory potency, the maya will go away. In this verse, the expansion of the material world from Brahman, the absolute, is described. Since Brahman is one of the subordinate features of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we already talked about Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavan iti Sabdate. One who understands this material world to be Brahman is freed from the tendency to exploit the material energy through sense gratification and mental speculation aimed at one's own satisfaction. So we talked about like Purushaha Prakrutisto hi Bunjan Prakrutir Jair Gunan. So we are trying to bhungte, we are trying to enjoy. Bhungte means we are trying to enjoy the three modes of material nature by with our senses and with our mental speculation. But what we need to do, we need to actually do the devotional service. We need to use all our senses, starting from hearing in Krishna service. The question may be raised, since Brahman is stated to be Ekam or one, how does it become manifest in the innumerable varieties of the material world? Therefore, this uses the word Urushakti. So, as I explained earlier, this is only like one Shakti. Initially, there is only one Shakti, Urushakti, right? Urushakti means the Sit Shakti, but it expands into multiple energies, multiple potencies. That Sat Chit Ananda, the Sandhini Shakti, Hadini Shakti, Samvit Shakti. So those are the main three energies that becomes like perverted energies and all. So those are all cause of everything. Parasya Shaktir Vividaiva Shruyate. The absolute truth is not Shakti or energy, but Shaktiman. So, Lord is not just an energy, He is actually Shaktiman. He is the possessor of energies, the possessor of innumerable potencies. According to Srila Sridhara Swami, one should submissively hear these authorized descriptions of the absolute truth as stated in the previous verse. Yadanalam Achisaha Swaha. The insignificant sparks of a fire have no power to eliminate the blazing fire. We think that we can eliminate this entire world, but you can't because we are only small sparks. We can't do that. But when you're united with Lord, when you go to the Supreme Lord, like that's where that all the illumination is there. That becomes that's equivalent to blazing fire, which is itself the source of illumination. Similarly, the tiny living entity who is like spark of the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot eliminate the personality of Godhead by insignificant intellectual power. So we can't. So here it says like, how can you eliminate the Supreme Lord? You can't. We can't even glorify Him. Like how can you eliminate actually? One may argue. So me also like I'm not able to glorify. I'm not able to finish the even the purport also. There is a very long purport over here. So yeah, that's where we are. Like that's where our limitedness, Lord glories are ever expanding. Um, so we can't glorify Him enough. One may argue that even Lord Himself doesn't know His energies because those energies, like he's omniscient, he knows everything, but his energies also keep on expanding, and at the same time, his knowledge is also expanding, like, and his pleasure potency is also expanding. So that's how, like, it's inconceivable. One may argue that the sun expands its potency in the form of its rays, and it is through the illumination those rays that we are able to see the sun. Um, yeah, I think it's going on more and more. So the essence of this, all this translation and purport is, we need to understand that we are the jivas. Jiver Swarupohai Krishner Nityadas. So we are the Swarupa. Swarupa means we are the Swarupa Shakti of the Lord, the Vibhinams of the Lord. We are also Sachidananda, but in a limited form. And when we understand that, when we surrender to the Lord, Daiviyesha Gunamaya Mama Maya Durantaya. So when we understand that Lord's inconceivable potencies are difficult to overcome, and when we take the surrender of the Lord, then everything will become clear, and then we can come out of the Maya. So the only thing we can do is, as Kunti Maharani says, Bhakti Yoga Vidhanardham. So one has to perform devotional service, starting with hearing, chanting. So I'll finish here. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If anybody have any reflections in the last.
Thank you, Hari Charan Prabhu. We only have 1 minute, but Krishna Daya Prabhu is asking if the material world is Brahman. Is material world Brahman?
No, material world is is one of the spark of Brahman, maybe you can say. Through Brahman energy, like the material world would be created.
Krishna Daya Prabhu, are you satisfied? Living on the spark?
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
Sweet. Thank you, Hari Charan Prabhu. So you didn't leave much for questions, so we humbly ask you to stay for the after
Oh, I can do it, your service.
darshan time, dear devotees. Look at Annabelle. She's keeping her camera on. Look at Timothy's family. Hare Krishna. Isaiah, Hare Krishna, thank you. Cameras, makeup, socks, pants, please. Yeah, Ram. Hare Krishna, welcome to the Afterglow. Thank you, Hari Charan Prabhu, for the wonderful class and for staying over time.
Sorry for coming late.
That's all right. You put us in transcendental anxiety, which is good for us. Srila Prabhupada says there must be anxiety.
Actually, I didn't even confirm to Amrit Kishori Mataji. She was asking more. I replied in the evening.
Yeah, Amrita
I was
Kishore is
little
very beautiful.
I was late too, so I wasn't co-host. So. Sorry.
You're so nice.
Narottam Nitai Prabhu had a question. Narottam Nitai Prabhu.
Well, no, it's really nice class. The question I had is, I've heard this, and I don't know if this is the right understanding, but I've heard that like Mahaprabhu's mercy is like water that like flows down, like the mercy that flows down to where like the lowest, so to speak, the most the people that really are searching for Krishna's mercy. So like, I guess the four types of people that approach Krishna, the ones that are distressed are really like can really relish you know Krishna's mercy. So I was just wondering in terms of like maybe devotional service and things like that, how do we really like go about maybe like distributing books or distributing Mahaprabhu's mercy in a sense of where it's really needed. And I'm only saying that because like because how the Detroit Temple was established by Srila Prabhupada, but in a sense how like sometimes I don't know, I just feel, is that a right understanding that like Mahaprabhu's mercy is like water that's like seeps down to the lowest where it's needed the most?
Yeah, I think Anand Bihar Prabhu can answer this better than me. He's doing all that. So actually, I'll try to attempt. Actually, Mahaprabhu opened the marketplace. Actually, the marketplace of the love of the Supreme Lord. So it's actually freely distributed, and he's calling everyone to take this chanting, to take this devotion process. So earlier it was not that freely available. Like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvida bhajante mam arto jignasur ardharthi gnanicha bhartarshava. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, like Artha Bhaktas, Jignasur, like the inquisitive, Ardharthi, Gnani, like these are the four kinds of categories mentioned there. But Mahaprabhu even went lower actually. He went to like the Adama Bhaktas like us, right? So he overreached, right? Like Prabhupada came to America and like the Malaysias, so the even like those are not even eligible, like those are not even calling for the Lord actually. Artha Bhaktas actually calls for the Lord, but here like the marketplace is open. Like it's like if you go to a place like where everything is like freely distributed, it's like that. So we Prabhupada opened up everything. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did that, and Prabhupada expanded it, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu predicted that every town and village that this holy name goes. So Prabhupada came and fulfilled that dream on behalf of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is actually a overreach happened, so much overreach that it is unimaginable actually. Like actually in earlier ages, like if you see only finding a devotee is a rare thing, but now you see like how many temples, and everywhere you go, like what town, any town you go, any city you go, you see a place that you can take the shelter of the Lord. Yeah, whatever. Like how can we do that preaching? Just go to those places, just go to the places associated with associate with devotees. By just being associating with the devotees, by being in presence of the devotees, that itself is a greater service. So that way is you're actually, that's the starting point. That way you're actually inspiring other people to take it, or whatever volunteer service that you can take. Yeah, that will be helpful. I think Anand Bihari Prabhu can expand more on that.
Yeah, I'm coming from the lowest region. I have
Mhm.
first-hand experience of that.
No problem.
Thank you, Hari Charan Prabhu. I think you answered it perfectly. One time, Srila Prabhupada was asked why he was going to kind of wealthy countries only, not, and they told him, go to Africa. That's where what you're preaching is needed. And Srila Prabhupada said very boldly that there's no discrimination. We go everywhere equally. Krishna is needed everywhere equally, and that distress means distress is when we turn away from Krishna. That's distress. Whether we are rich or poor materially, if we're turned away from Krishna, that's distress, and Krishna will go there. Just a few cents. Thank you, Hari Charan Prabhu. You answered it wonderfully.
No, no
I
problem.
have a question, Manartam Nitai Prabhu. You always ask very intelligent questions, very pertinent.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much for asking the question. Yeah.
And I have a question, Hari Charan Prabhu. If you described so wonderfully how I'm not the body, I'm eternal spirit soul, full of knowledge and bliss, then if that's our natural state, then why is it so difficult to switch to it? You know, we read in Srila Prabhupada's books that I'm not the body. All right, so I'm not the body. How wonderful. So let me go cross the street on the red light. You know, let me do whatever with my body since I'm not the body. Why can't we give it up so easily? And how to properly give up this conception that I'm the body? What's the proper understanding of that? Let's, for example, take Bhima Prabhu. He's an advanced devotee, but at the same time, he doesn't smoke or drink. Is it because he is attached to his body and doesn't want to lose it prematurely? Why is that?
Yeah. So, yeah, that's very important question that you asked, Prabhu. Thank you so much. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, and he also gives the examples, right? He expands into this material world also into different forms of energies, right? So Rasoham Apsakaunteya Prabhasmi Suryo. So he says, I'm the taste of the water, right? And Pranavaha Sarva Vedeshu, Sabdaha Ke Paurushanushu. So I am the taste of the water, and I am the light of the suns and moons. I am the Vedic sound, and I'm everything actually. Like with the single fragmental portion, I expanded into everything. So the way we need to contemplate is like whatever we see or wherever we see, Sarvagata Krishna, like one has to Pashyanti Sarvagata Krishna, like wherever you see, like wherever you go, one has to see Krishna everywhere, in everybody, right? That way we develop that, like when we are drinking water, like I saw like when I went to Sadhusanga, I was like one devotee was drinking water, like then you're chanting this mantra, Rasoham Apskaunte Prabhasmi Suryo Pranava Sarvaveda Shabda Ke Porshana. So I understood like how that consciousness actually coming actually, like when you're like most of the time like we don't do that, right? Like how many times we remember like when we are drinking water, like remember Krishna, right? So like everything, like even Prabhupada also says that everything in this material world is connected with Krishna, like this computer, these microphones and everything, right? Like when you see everything is connected to Krishna. He's actually the real seer, actually. Pashyati, right? Like whoever actually can see Krishna everywhere, um, he's actually the real seer, and he's actually he actually get to know the reality and connected to the Krishna. So we need to, yeah, so that starts with chanting, I mean hearing the first, right? Like so we need to constantly hear the Bhagavad Gita, and we need to constantly and Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, ma manusmara iddhasya, right? You when you perform your activities, you think of me like background, my sparan should go on, right? Mamanasmari, they say, fight, but don't give up things. You fight. That's what you're also doing, right, Prabhu? So one has to have that consciousness, see everything, like everywhere we need to see Krishna. Like I'm trying to develop that. I'm not sure like where I'm in the infancy stage. I think there are so many advanced souls here sitting here. They can tell their reflections. So yeah, I think the only thing is like in our family, like we are connected to our family, we are connected to our body, right? Like when we are taking bath, we need to think that like why I'm taking bath, like to serve the Lord, like so that when I take bath, um, I do I'm in a good consciousness, good state, good physically in a purified state, so that I can serve the Lord, right? When you work, right, we need to think that like okay, whatever the things that I get, like I can use my for my family, uh, to that who are devoted to Krishna consciousness, or to serve the temple, to serve the devotees. So I think we need to develop that consciousness. Yeah, I think that's where like I think we are missing, and paraspara anukathanam, right? Like most of the time, like we try to hear from people, but we also need to develop that habit of like sharing our realizations with each other, parasparan kathanam, like with one and each other, right? The Lord's glories. Then actually that taste increases. So that's where Prabhu, we can add more. Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for describing the proper understanding of the principle that I'm not the body. I'm not the body means I'm doing it for Krishna.
But when we think that, like, yeah, see, even though like we have body, right? Like, yeah, like for each and every limb of the body can be utilized for Lord service, then it becomes everything like, and like Krishna says, like, all this, everything is like, is energy, right? Even the body and everything. So, like when we think like we are not the body, okay, I don't care about the body. Like it should not be like that. Proper, like in some places it says like we need to consider this body as a temple actually. So that way like you are actually, so it's our devotion service is not about detachment actually. Our devotional service is actually about attaching, right? So because we can't control our mind, right? That's very like, it's like it's like a wind. Even you can control wind, but you can't control our body, mind, senses. Like they go everywhere. That's what Krishna says, Maya asakta manaparda yogunjam madachre, right? That's like the eighth chapter of not eighth chapter, seventh chapter of Bhagavad Gita. First sloka starts with Mayi asakta manaparda. So start with attachment, engaging, right? Like start with your mind attached to me, right? You don't need to control your mind. Just attach your mind. You don't need to detach, right? You don't need to detach from the body, but use your body for Krishna service. Then it automatically get detached. Like in the coconut, like the meat, when it gets dried out, the coconut meat, it automatically get detached from that the shell, right? So like that we also get detached automatically. So
Analogy.
so
Drying coconut. That's me.
yeah,
Drying.
so it's like yeah, so we need to learn that art of attaching to Krishna, uh, not much about detachment. So the detachment automatically comes because devotional service involves everything. Like when you attach it to Krishna, you get automatically. That's how like all the like hippies became happies, right? Like they didn't become detached to like the drinking and all the smoking, as you said, like Bhima Prabhu example you gave, right? Like it's not like they're like artificially detaching. That's a natural thing. Like because they're attached to Krishna, that became a natural thing for them.
I'd
So
like to speak for myself here.
very well,
The
very well.
the the only reason why, if I follow strictly, the only reason why is because Krishna promises me that I will be young and pretty eventually. He will give me a new eternal Nava Yovanam, always youthful body, and I will be able to run in the fields and have a good time for the rest of eternity. That's the only reason why I do it.
Because you are already in Sachidananda form. You are like enjoying that bliss eternally now itself. So
Why wait? Why
that's a
wait?
pure state of devotional service. Is
Why
in.
wait? Start running around now, like a
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Like actually the Sachidananda form is running around. It's not like Bhima Prabhu running around. It's actually Sachidananda form running around. Think about that.
Running around with a pitchfork and a wheelbarrow full of horse manure.
That's actually cows. So you're actually that's a Goloka that you are in around with.
Sweet. So I see our Paw Patrol choir is ready to do what they do best. Sage, Sky, please bring your friends. Isaiah, Annabelle, please unmute yourselves. Turn on the cameras. Karen, please facilitate the choir.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Sweet. Thank you very much. Hari Charan Prabhu ki jai. Srila
No, Prabhu.
Prabhupada
Anand Bihari Prabhu ki jai.
Bhagavatam,
All the glorious Rasamullas. Hari
Srimad
Bol.
Bhagavatam ki jai. All the assembled Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, and Vaishnavettes, and plushie toys ki jai. Hare Krishna.